Welcome everyone, Costin here with the discussion about the Greenskins and Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires and why they are one of the most powerful races in the game. Like, on a ranking of races, Greenskins are S tier from my perspective. But what makes them so? Well, one of the things to understand is that the way the map is designed in Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires certainly favors races that can be very aggressive, that can expand very quickly, that can earn a lot of post-battle loot. And the Greenskins certainly are in that category of races. Also races that can build up settlements very, very quickly. So over here, for instance, to understand the situation that Greenskins have, a tier 3 capital might cost 3,000, but a tier 2 one, just as an example, 1,500. That is an incredibly low price to get a provincial capital from tier 1 to tier 2, and even from tier 2 to tier 3, that is still a fairly low cost that the Greenskins have to deal with. And that's just one aspect. Then their main economic building, the pile of shiny stuff, costs 250 for 250 income. Tier 2, 500 for 375, and then 1,000 for 500. There are races, many races in the game actually, that might pay 1,000 for either half or even a fifth of what the Greenskins get through their most basic economic building. Kislev included, for instance, because yes, Kislev's main economic building is 1,000 for 100, which is pretty sad. So structures are cheap. That is one aspect that really helps out the Greenskins. And the money that they're getting from their economic buildings is also cheap. On top of that, they get the raiding stashes. Now, the raiding stashes do two things. One, they increase your faction-wide post-battle loot by 3% per each, and it stacks. Then on top of that, they increase their income from sacking and looting settlements by 2% for each of them. And again, these do stack. So you start earning a significant amount of money through battles. Not only are you earning a good amount of money through the basic income, you're also earning a good amount of money through every single battle that you're fighting. In fact, Greenskins, like, there's a baseline income. There's a basic baseline income from battles and sacking and looting settlements, and the Greenskins have one of the higher, they're on the higher end of things, along with races like the Dark Elves, Warriors of the Chaos, and so on and so forth. But in point of fact, when you start accounting for things like raiding stashes and other effects, it starts really getting out of control. Furthermore, Greenskins have an incredible level of growth. So a tier 1 building is going to give you 10 growth, tier 2 20, and then you're going to go to 30, 40, to 50. Now, this isn't on the same level as Britannia from the buildings, but here's where the Greenskins go completely out of control with respect to growth. They also have the WA meter, and now the WA meter is going to do two things. One, it's going to, well, several things, but the important things is, one, it's going to give you a lot of control, so 5 control when you're at the highest level, and this is active while after you've declared the WA. So it's going to give you 5 control, and it's going to give you furry growth. There's also commandment that's kind of basically a lesser version of the growth and control here. So Greenskin rebellions are a non-existent entity. Greenskin growth is an incredibly high one, not quite as high as Britannia to be clear, but still probably the second highest or her third highest in the entire game. That's how ridiculous Greenskins are. So they can build structures, they can build provinces up very quickly, and they can do so very cheaply. And this is important because it allows the Greenskins to start building up a massive empire in their campaign. Furthermore, a lot of the units that they can recruit early on are fairly combat effective. Things like Goblin Archers, Nasty Skulkers, even the Orc Boys, they're pretty effective units. And also trolls. Trolls were a joke in Warhammer 1 and 2. They're actually quite effective combat units in Warhammer 3. Differences in the way stats works and all that kind of stuff. Fine. So Greenskins not only have a huge amount of economic power, not only do they grow settlements very quickly, but they also have very cheap but powerful armies that they can recruit very early on. Like an army like this once I finished recruiting these nasty skulkers, could go up against any other early game army and win. Let alone, the army of course, a legendary lord and so on and so forth. Nasty skulkers in particular are crazy units because, one, they're very effective against heavily armored units since the vast majority of the damage is armor piercing. They get better stats when they're engaged in combat, so even more armor piercing, also melee attack. They've got Vanguard deployment, they've got stock, so they're low armor. You might think that's a downside against range units, but because they're invisible until they're very close to the enemy, it will be difficult for enemy range units to take them out. On top of that, they can also be effective against cavalry because they can slow down their speed and charge speed while cavalry is trying to engage. Play a campaign as Grom and face off a full Bretonnian cavalry charge with nasty skulkers and watch nasty skulkers annihilate anything that Bretonnia can recruit cavalry-wise in the early game. It gets pretty ridiculous. I know it gets ridiculous when they stand up to Grail Knights and win. That's the point, or Grail Guardians and win. That's the point where you start calling this out being ridiculous. So they can recruit very powerful armies very early on. And the thing is about these armies, they're even more powerful than you might think because, for instance, right, nasty skulkers don't necessarily have the greatest base stats. I mean, they have good stats in terms of damage potential, but survivability, that can be an issue. Well, you get the Goblin Great Shaman, and he has Goblin Tide, which is doubling the armor of Goblin units. That's one thing. That's a skill line for a particular lord, and that's what makes Goblin Great Shamans one of the most effective lord choices to go for. But there's more to it. You get things like Gobby Gobos, which increases leadership melee attack. Crucially, you can use them right after, which gives 7 armor to these goblin units. And also, what I'm researching over here is you can get Healy Mushrooms, which gives you 10% casualty replenishment faction-wide. And furthermore, you can also egg them on, which gives 10% extra casualty replenishment for goblin units and gives them physical resistance. A lot of the research that the Greenskins have is fast, effective, and very extremely powerful, especially with regards to the early game units that you can recruit. Later on in the campaign, unit-wise, you can get things like Big Uns, Black Orcs, Night Goblins to really make a really powerful army. Black Orcs are a fairly solid infantry choice. They're not the best infantry choice in the game, but they're also cheaper than many other infantry units that could stand up to them. So consider that as a net benefit when you are playing the Greenskins. Fairly durable, can take a heck of a beating in a fight. They do require tier 4, and that is one of the downsides when it comes to Greenskin recruitment. If you want the highest end units, you're going to need to basically get a provincial capital for a barracks. Though this is not necessarily a big issue for Greenskins because a lot of their buildings you don't actually need to build in a provincial capital to take in guns. So for instance, the Troll building, the Shaman building, unless you're getting Rogue Idols, you'd have no reason whatsoever to build that in a provincial capital. But then there's more. While their lord choices aren't that great, their legendary lord choices, lords like Grimgor, Grom, and Azag are incredibly powerful. But here's where Greenskins really, really win out. Hero selection. So, from a tier 3 barracks, they can get Black Orc Big Bosses and increase hero capacity from any tier 3 barracks. From a tier 3 Hag Hut, they get the ability of recruiting Stone Trolls, which are incredibly durable units that you want to get your hands on early on in the campaign because they're going to be very, very useful in a siege. But they also get Giant River Troll Hags. Now, the reason Giant River Troll Hags are powerful is because they increase replenishment. You might start noticing a pattern with regards to Greenskin replenishment. It is incredibly high. There are some races that can get that higher. I think Kislev, obviously with Patriarchs and other things, can get that higher, but certainly the Greenskins can reach the replenishment cap. They have a lot of heroes. And then finally you can get the Shaman Hut, which also increases hero capacity for Shamans. I'd always use Orc Shamans and never bother with Night Goblin Shamans. If you ever, there's I think some events that give you a Night Goblin Shaman, don't bother with that, they're worthless. The only hero that's not really great are the Goblin Big Bosses. Well, they're decent enough at what they're doing, specifically increasing the post-battle loot and having things like Slippery and all that. Also, they need snapping, but they do require a tier 4 settlement to increase hero capacity. in the boss's camp. Though that also increases your Lord recruit rank faction-wide, and it does stack. It does get pretty crazy when you start looking at the modifiers that the Greenskins do have. And to cap a capital off, they get the Wa, which when you declare Wa, you'll declare against the target. If you succeed in that, you'll get faction-wide benefits. Crucially, while the Wa is active, every army will get a secondary army attached to it, effectively doubling its size. So all the units, the glass cannon units like Nasty Skulkers, Goblin Archers, that can take a lot of damage, well, suddenly you have meat shields to protect those units. That's also the thing about Greenskins. They can, from tier 1, they can recruit effective Goblin Archers, while they're not really the best units, considering all the upgrades you can get from them from research, and their low cost, low upkeep, and the fact you can spam them from any settlement without owning a DLC. I'm looking at you, Empire Archers, makes them incredibly effective. In tier 2, it's all about Nasty Skulkers. In tier 3, yeah, Stone Trolls. Though you can also make do with regular trolls until you can get your hands on Stone Trolls. And finally, to cap it all off with the Greenskins, they can do this. They get an absurd level of post-battle loot and income from sacking settlements. So for instance, over here I got 1,600. If I sack the settlement, I get 1,200 more. So 3,000 from this settlement, which was tier 2. There was a battle previously in the campaign where I got like 4,000 income from sacking the settlement. It depends on the level of the settlement. It depends on the structures it has. Some things are more valuable than others. But when you combine this with the very low cost of building structure, like the way the Greenskins play out is you sack everything or you loot and occupy it. The reason you might want to loot and occupy versus sacking it is because when you loot and occupy a settlement, you might take the settlement at the same level it's at. So you might, if you're taking over a tier 5 settlement, you might get to keep it at tier 5. It's a chance. It's not guaranteed. I would say with minor settlements are always worth sacking. Major settlements depends on, depends on if you need money. But the crucial thing is, if you're playing the Greenskins, you will never run out of money. Like, you can maintain far more armies than any other faction in the campaign, and you will genuinely just not run out of cash to spend. So over here, for instance, I'm recruiting a force. I can start recruiting a third army, no problem whatsoever in terms of doing so. So, just start global recruitment. It is going to be costly, and I'm certainly going to push myself to the limit over here, with economically speaking. But one of the things you can do as a Greenskins, as any Greenskin Legendary Lord, it works especially well as Gromdo, because Grom just has that ability of printing money. Yeah, the cauldron is ridiculous. Is you can maintain a lot of armies, and as long as you can fight 1 or 2 battles in a turn, depends on how much your economy is in a deficit, as long as you can fight 1 or 2 battles, you can not only maintain your current level in spending, you can increase it. The Greenskins are one of those races where you can literally be spending millions, if you will, or that's how it feels like, where you're literally just printing money and constantly spending it but never running out. You might end up in a situation where you genuinely don't have anything to spend on your money on, because there's only so many armies you actually even need in a campaign before it starts getting to the point of ridiculousness. That is the Greenskins in a nutshell as a race. That's what makes them powerful. Their ludicrous income from sacking and looting settlements, combined with the way the map works at the moment, combined with their cheap and powerful units, combined with their massive swarm of heroes. You can make entire Greenskin armies just made out of heroes. And those are powerful heroes. Black Orc Big Bosses, Giant River Troll Hags, Orc Shamans. They are effective in a campaign. Very effective in point of fact. Goblin Big Bosses less so, but still a fairly effective hero roster. This is what makes the Greenskins so scary. And this is, again, before you account for the fact that when they have a WA declared, you're facing double the numbers. This is what makes them so bloody terrifying to deal with in any campaign. Because the AI is taking advantage of all these things. This is what makes Grimgor Grimgor. It's not... Well, that and the fact that Grimgor is a murdering hero, a murdering lord, who is very, very scary to face on the battlefield, but you combine that scariness with all the faction effects the Greenskins have, it gets pretty damn ludicrous. Costin here signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications. Stay tuned for more.